It's football. I've been watching it for 40 years.
Are you kidding me?
You're listening to Winning Cures Everything.
Game day, baby. Wake up or get out.
Here's your host,
a confident young man, a superb athlete,
Gary Seegers.
All right, welcome in. We've reached the end of the regular season. It is Three Dog Thursday on the Winning Cures Everything platform. Great to be back for what will be championship weekend, primarily championship Saturday in big-time college football, headed to the college football playoff final rankings reveal on Sunday. I am the somewhat capable host, TJ Rives. Hello, Jason Powers, back aboard once more as we flip the calendar to December, and now it all gets crazy, gets good. It's elimination time with championship games and then the college football playoff. Good to be with you, first of all, as we have reached it. We've reached championship weekend, and that means the CFP is next.
Have you digested all of your turkey and all your stuffing and all the pies that I'm sure the Rives family was unveiling?
We were outstanding with everything that went on. Two appearances with the doubleheader with my parents and with the in-laws over Thursday and Friday. I think you were just going single header, right, for yours. I will say once again, the mother-in-law wins the weekend. I will show this to the video audience. For those of you that are on podcast, come find us on video on Gary Seegers' Winning Cures Everything platform. We love getting to cohabitate on his platform. So the pod audience is only hearing us. They're not seeing the video of the pecan pie, the homemade pecan pie. You're not a pecan pie guy, but my mother-in-law makes the mean pecan pie. Let's just say I destroyed that thing over the course of about 48 hours on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so not all myself. My father got in on some of that. I'm the only one in my house that eats pecan pie, and you do not, right? You were saying cherry cobbler and something else, right? Yeah.
Yeah, not a big pecan pie fan. I'll eat lots of things, but not a whole lot of pecan.
Not necessarily that. But listen, the dessert was what went on at the end of the regular season here. As I make the food metaphor, we're going to get to that in a couple of moments. We've got some picks coming up on the championship games on the championship weekend, the championship games for this weekend. We should say again to the audience that typically you and I have done really well with 3 underdogs each and no overlap. There's not 6 underdogs to take this weekend and from here on out. The goal will be to try to get you to 3. I don't even know that we're going to get to 3 for this week with underdogs that you and I like officially, but we are going to talk about all the prominent championship games. And then obviously for the first 4 college football playoff games, we might have an underdog or 2. Stay tuned when all of that gets said and done here in a couple of weeks. Stand by for that. Again, thank you for finding us either on video, on the YouTube platform, the Winning Cures Everything YouTube platform, winningcureseverything.com. Thank you for finding us on podcasts, Apple, Spreaker, Spotify. If you're watching, just know that you can take us on podcast anywhere that you get your podcast, on the AirPods, the Bluetooth, the earbuds, etc. If you are hearing us and you haven't found the show, I can't believe that, on video, come find the video. Just search it up, Three Dog Thursday on YouTube, the Winning Cures Everything platform as well, Winning Cures Everything on YouTube. You'll find the show on Thursdays. You and I with a 3-3 week last week. I say kudos to you calling the Texas outright win. You also had Vanderbilt over Tennessee last week. The host has dipped. A 2-4 last 2 weeks have dipped me down to 26-16 on the season. I say thank you to Clemson for the outright win. Last week. We went with a lot of short underdogs. However, Arizona State and Florida State did not get it done in the rivalry games. Jason, what were your thoughts last week on the Thanksgiving games and the end of the regular season as everything wrapped up?
Well, you saw we started off Friday night with the Texas and A&M game where Texas played well, give them credit. Then you saw the lobbying begin with Sarkisian post game about, if we don't play Ohio State, but we play Ohio U in week 1, where do we stand? You know, we don't have a third loss. Are we in the playoff? So you saw that started, and then let's go to the end of Saturday night. The gutsy, could have been job-saving call and conversion by Kalen DeBoer going for it on 4th down. If they don't make it, they lose that game after blowing a 17-0 lead. Kalen DeBoer might not be the coach at Alabama today. You never know.
Oh, wow. I don't know that they would have gotten rid of him at 9-3.
Playoffs would have changed.
It sure helped that they won that game, and they're very much alive, as we'll talk about them for the SEC title game rematch with Georgia. We do have a couple of different title game rematches, as it turns out, including in the Big 12 with BYU and Texas Tech. Great to have you here as part of Three Dog Thursday, and again, we're talking about the end of the regular season. So, my mayhem that I had to put together the Tune In Big 12 Game Day show
Right.
in the middle of the night, as it turns out, as the Arizona State Sun Devils had a win and get in scenario, and the end result is that they were not able to do so. Arizona knocks them off, and that automatically put Texas Tech and BYU, before they ever had to play a down of football on Saturday, into the conference championship games, into the conference championship game in Arlington, Texas. So I ended up doing that show in the middle of the night and going over the different scenarios. What a win for Arizona in the rivalry game. And we saw this in several of the rivalry games, like you mentioned, the Iron Bowl, or you saw Texas win the game with A&M and keep their playoff hopes alive. Georgia able to beat Georgia Tech in what was a close game, and that was again, Georgia Tech was already out, as it turns out, of the ACC title game, but that would have been a big credibility win if they could have found a way to get that victory. Other thoughts here off the weekend and the end of the regular season?
How about ACC After Dark in Berkeley, where we all thought SMU was going to roll Cal, and SMU loses to Cal, which then creates the 5-way playoff tiebreaker where Duke backdoors their way into the conference title game, 5 losses. Now there's all this drama about how is that affecting Miami? Does Miami have any path to get in? So ACC After Dark continues to create massive chaos as we end the regular season.
Again, we had that because it cost SMU. Am I correct? I heard this, but I did not verify this. Am I correct that the tiebreaker that got Duke into the title game, now you went with Virginia Tech and Virginia won the game, so they earned their way in. Duke basically backed in full throttle like one of the sanitation trucks. Beep, beep, beep. And the back end on the tiebreakers was Boston College beating Syracuse on the weekend, helped the Duke strength of victory enough to push them across in the 2-loss mayhem that we had theorized in the ACC.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I think you'll see the ACC revamp their tiebreaker system because, again, Miami gets squeezed out on the 5th tiebreaker, whatever that was, separating all those 2-loss teams. Because remember, Miami and Duke did not play each other in the regular season either. So that's you're going to see some changes there in how a couple of these conferences break their ties, because it's just a bad look for the ACC when 2-loss Miami, top 10-12 team in the country, sitting home, and 5-loss Duke, who probably can't get in the playoff even if they win, get to the title game.
Very strange. And again, we'll talk about Miami sitting there as well. Again, the regular season was crazy for sure with all these different situations. I want to talk about a couple of other things, and this will kind of lead us into the coaching carousel, because this stuff needs to be said for all of the love fest that's going on. What about the Lane Kiffin situation? My hand is up. I don't get them all right. I got a lot of them right this year. I said Bill Belichick would be awful at North Carolina. I said it all summer. I said it before, and I wasn't the only one. They were awful. I got that one right. But I thought Lane Kiffin would stay at Ole Miss. You said you got to listen to LSU. He not only listened, he took the job. Total love fest by ESPN. Before we get into the picks and the plays, what's your thought on that coming off the weekend?
I mean, you knew that was going to be you knew they were going to have the embedded reporter. Ended up being Marty Smith. He was there pre-Egg Bowl. He was there on Egg Bowl duty in the athletic complex on Saturday morning, all throughout the day. He was chasing Lane to the tarmac, and he eventually got the interview with Lane. I mean, and if you heard him describe what he had to go through to get around security and about the police and all the things that he had to do, it was pretty comical. But with Lane, you figured if he was going to leave, he was going to make it dramatic. praying on it and all that good stuff. I will say this for Lane. I think this helped Ole Miss a little bit because remember, they moved up one spot in the rankings this week. He didn't have to do this. He allowed Charlie Weiss to go back to be a part of that staff. So give him a little bit of credit. I know there's a lot of hate on Lane Kiffin, but give him a little bit of credit for allowing Charlie Weiss to at least go back.
Well, it's interesting because he wanted the whole staff to try to coach the game, and the athletic director, Brown, was basically saying, nope, you're not going to do that. If you're taking the LSU job, you're gone. We're turning your phone off. We're turning your email off. You're not contacting any more of the players about NIL or transfer portal or whatever else. So that was interesting. How he did what he did. Once again, it just calls into question how he milked that for the better part of over 48 hours, almost 72 hours for the decision to be made. It's all about him. It's all about his brand. And as more than one person has pointed out, the last 3 coaches at LSU have been fired, including 2 of them in Les Miles and Ed Orgeron that won national championships.
Right.
So stay tuned.
And the guy really pulling all the strings. And again, you can blame Lane Kiffin a lot for a lot of this, but Jimmy Sexton behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Because the moment Lane Kiffin got announced he was going to LSU, about 4 jobs got announced within about 2 hours on Sunday morning. So
it was wheeling and dealing time.
Jimmy Sexton pulled a lot of those strings.
All right, so you mentioned the college football playoff, and let's just talk about this for a second. Then I promise this is leading to the championship games, and the coaching carousel is part of this too. So we have put the bracket up on the screen here now, where the Winning Cures audience on video on YouTube, the 3 Dog Thursday Pod video audience is seeing it. So we know now that Ohio State and Indiana are playing as the top 2 teams. Georgia is their 3rd team. Texas Tech is their 4th team for now. This is not the final bracket. That'll come out on Sunday. Interesting, they have not 1 but 2 slots available for the next best conference champion that automatically qualifies. And the way that they're putting that is that doesn't guarantee the ACC a spot here.
Right.
If the ACC champion is not in the top 12, they don't have to take the ACC champion. That being said, what is your opinion here, especially if Virginia wins? If Virginia wins, they're going to put them in one of those spots. If Duke wins, they are not. I'm saying that. You agree with that?
I do. Totally agree. You cannot have a 5-loss team in the playoff with as many good 2-loss teams still out there.
Do you believe that then necessitates, if Duke wins, they will put Miami in to save face? And again, people, we got to educate you. Gary does a great job of talking about this, and we talk about the truth here and the money and follow the money. ESPN is intertwined with all of this. They've spent billions on the playoff. They have billions invested in the SEC and in the ACC. There's going to be an ACC team in the playoff. Do you not agree, whether it is Virginia or whether it is Miami? You agree with that?
I cannot 100% say, because we have the curveball if BYU beats Texas Tech. That's now assuming Texas Tech wins, and let's say Virginia loses. I think it would be a bad look for the playoff in college football in that committee if you put James Madison and either Tulane or North Texas in. I just think that's a bad look if Miami's sitting there.
That's what I mean.
Gets left out.
Stay tuned, and let's just see how that part does play out. It is interesting that Hunter Yurachek said to the media, he said it on ESPN and said it to the media and reinforced it, that even if you're not playing a game this weekend, and that is where Miami and Notre Dame come in. But with Miami being outside of the bracket, even if you're not playing a game this weekend, you could still be moved in. Texas is hoping that might be them, but probably not with 3 losses. Miami only with 2 losses could be moved in, Jason. Follow up one more time, even if they don't play.
I agree. I think he left the door open. Exactly. I think that's where Miami's desperately rooting for Texas Tech. And again, if BYU were to win, does that put Notre Dame in some jeopardy? There's some chatter that Notre Dame could be in jeopardy as well as Miami.
They're going to have Notre Dame in for the money. Follow the money.
I mean,
if it's one or the other, it's going to be Notre Dame, not Miami in this. And again, we're presupposing, as we're about to talk about the games, that Alabama gets the automatic berth and wins the SEC title game, because if they lose, you can take the Tide right off of that 8-9 game that you see right there on the graphic that we have, and that's where a Miami could come into play. Stay tuned.
Is there a scenario where Alabama gets beat by 3 touchdowns? They're out completely?
I think they're out completely if they lose, even by a field goal. I really do. They were left out a year ago. Now, they didn't play in the title game a year ago, but I think you make the argument now. You lost to Florida State. You lost 3 games. The same argument you're going to nullify Texas with. I mean, it's the same thing if Texas Tech beats BYU again. That there was your chance to do something. You're out. There's your argument against Virginia, like we were talking about. And by the way, this is what they love. They love the college football playoff and the powers that be, the power brokers, ESPN, the CFP, all the school presidents, the conference commissioners. They want the arguing. They want the debate. By the millions of page views and the billions of impressions and hours spent watching online and on TV, this is what they want. It's the arguing and the debate, and it all gets settled for this weekend. All right, let's get into it for the championship games and 3-Dog Thursday purposes. The American Conference title game is part of the coaching carousel that went on for this weekend. That game has Tulane and North Texas playing in New Orleans. Both coaches have taken another job. Eric Morris, the coach of North Texas, has taken the Oklahoma State job. Good luck to him after 2 winless seasons in the Big 12. Meantime, John Summerall has taken the Florida job to try to resurrect the Gators here after the 2 fantastic seasons he's had with Tulane. All right, the Green Wave at home with Jake Retzloff at quarterback. They have obviously got some weapons in the pass game. Summerall and Morris, again, a bit distracted earlier in the week by the carousel, but I think they both want very much to be in the college football playoff. I just like Tulane at home. So this will kick off the championship game conversation. This is Friday night, 7 Central Time. Your thought on Tulane and North Texas, which North Texas with the quarterback Mestamaker can light it up. There's no doubt. This game may be 52-51, but I like Tulane to win it, Jason. Your thoughts?
I'm with you. The name Jake Retzlaff, we remember that name.
Yep.
Just think how this whole playoff could be different if Retzlaff doesn't get in trouble at BYU. We don't ever probably hear of Bear Bachmeier. Who knows how BYU does? That probably, with Retzlaff being an available free agent basically in June, ends up at Tulane. They're probably not in the playoff if they don't get Retzlaff. He's their leading rusher. And again, 561 yards rushing. He's had some turnover issues, but you have, again, we mentioned, we saw Tulane go to Memphis a couple weeks back and take care of business. Summerall's kind of that gritty coach. I don't know what your thought is of what you thought of the Summerall hiring at Florida. I thought they would go more of an offensive name. He's more of a defensive guy. But you make great points. Again, they've not played in the regular season. They did not play. So again, so Tulane will have people there too. That will be an excitable crowd, I think, in New Orleans. I worry a little bit about Tulane's run defense. You got the kid Caleb Hawkins, 23 touchdown runs for North Texas. They've run the ball 44 rushing touchdowns. We talk about Mestamaker, but they run the ball in to score. 44 rushing touchdowns on the year for North Texas. Can Retzlaff make some plays in the passing game? We saw USF go to North Texas on a Friday night a few weeks back and light them up early. Can Tulane do that, utilizing that home crowd and that home field advantage?
Again, in that USF game, and it's wild that USF's the only loss for North Texas, and Texas San Antonio, UTSA, is the only loss for Tulane. It's not like Memphis or Navy or East Carolina, one of the other teams that was contending, were one of the ones that delivered the loss for either of these programs. In the loss to USF, Mestamaker had a couple of interceptions. They turned the ball over, I believe, 3 or 4 times during a stretch where USF outscored them like 42-7 in the second, third, and early fourth quarter. So turnovers could be their own undoing. If you want a nugget, since they beat my Memphis Tigers in that game at the Liberty Bowl, the revamped Liberty Bowl, they've covered 4 straight. Actually, you know what? They've covered 3 of the last 4. And if you look at the previous 4 games, that means they are 7-1-1 Tulane in their last 9 games ATS. How are they the underdog here? I thought this might be a pick'em game or maybe Tulane favored. I'll grab the 2.5 points on 3-Dog Thursday. And you would agree with me, this is going to put Tulane into the college football playoff. They have to, as at least one of those two teams.
Yes.
The tougher argument is James Madison out of the Sun Belt. So that's what's on the line here on Friday night. One final thought?
Yep. North Texas, two nuggets here. They've already hired another head coach, Neil Brown, the former West Virginia coach, has been hired to replace Morris. So who knows how that dynamic plays, but that's an interesting nugget there. And how about North Texas? Number 2 in the country in yards per play in the country. So they're going to move the ball, we think, against Tulane. Can Tulane be opportunistic? Maybe a couple red zone stops. And if Retzlaff doesn't turn the ball over, and here's another nugget, which plays into your Tulane pick. High-flying offense. Rain is in the forecast for New Orleans Friday night. Sloppier conditions, a little more slower pace probably. Tulane wants to keep this pace down. They don't want to be in a track meet, I don't think, with the North Texas. So does the rain help you? And Retzlaff running the ball, quarterback runs.
Around 50 degrees and rain. It is a turf field, not a natural grass field, for what it's worth. Tulane at home. I'll take them on 3-Dog Thursday as the first underdog of the show for this matchup. And again, on the Summerall hire, this is a pressure hire for Scott Strickland, the athletic director, because he's the guy that hired Dan Mullen, who flamed out. He's the guy that brought you Sunbelt Billy Napier out of Louisiana, and that flamed out. You're not going to get a third flame out and keep your job here. Summerall's already apparently done well with recruiting here midweek and some signees. Florida's got a dearth of players in the state and on the hook. So let's see what happens. And again, Summerall and Morris will both coach in the college football playoff despite taking other jobs here if for whoever wins this game. Winner take all game, both teams only with one loss. And don't laugh, but the American Conference has a couple of wins in these bowl games, in these big-time bowl games before. They haven't been in the college football playoff. Tulane won a game with Southern USC in the Sugar Bowl a couple of years ago.
Michael Pratt
program. We remember Houston famously beating Florida State out of the American Conference before they went to the Big 12.
Yep.
UCF out of the American Conference before they went to the Big 12, beat Auburn in the Peach Bowl. So don't just laugh away that a Tulane could win this game and not win a college football playoff game. It might happen.
And it'll be interesting to see, will they be the 11 seed or the 12 seed in this bracket? Because, obviously you want to be the 11, not the 12, because the 12 is going on the road to probably Oregon, most likely, probably. So you want to try to stay out of that spot if you can, but that'll be interesting. What will the committee do if it's them, if it's the American and James Madison, who gets the 11 and who gets the 12 spot?
Correct. And obviously Virginia in the ACC, which we're going to talk about in a little while, is also factored in there. But bears repeating again that Virginia would have to be in the top 12 to be automatically taken. Otherwise, it's the highest ranked teams. However it slots. Would James Madison be ranked ahead of Virginia? Probably not. They definitely would be ranked ahead of Duke. That's the whole point on what do they do. All right, let's continue. We mentioned the Big 12 title game is a rematch. That's Texas Tech and BYU. I'm surprised at the large number neutral field in Arlington. I'm not taking it. You told me just before we began you're going to stay away and not take this one either. This is interesting because it's the first of a couple of rematches that we're going to talk about. The game was in Lubbock back 3 weeks ago. 29-7 was the final. A lot of field goals by Texas Tech. They could have blown it open, easily been 38-7, 41-7. The moment looked a little too big for Bear Bachmeier, the freshman quarterback. All right, what are your thoughts? This is early. It gets championship Saturday underway at 11 a.m. Central Time in Dallas. Texas Tech, we believe, is secure even with a loss. BYU has to have it. Jason, what are your thoughts?
How will BYU handle the week? Sataki was in deep conversation with Penn State. Again, who knows how close that was or wasn't. He ends up declaring he's going to stay at BYU. And by the way, you know who one of their big, humongous BYU benefactors is? One of the companies you and your family love. Crumble.
How about Crumble Cookie? Yeah, because they're based in Utah. Exactly right. The Crumble Cookie money went out over the Penn State money. And if you saw the video on Tuesday night where Kalani Sitake said at practice, hey, don't believe what you're hearing. I was not leaving. I'm staying here on a contract extension. The players went crazy.
Yep.
Of course, he wouldn't have been saying any of that if he really wanted to go to Penn State and had taken the job. None of that would have happened. It seemed like a weird fit to begin with. But anyway, back to the matchup. Again, I pose, will it be different? And if so, why?
Can Bachmeier throw the ball down the field? They've been a dink and dunk kind of passing attack. I think the only chance BYU is going to have to win the game is they are going to have to hit some big plays in the passing game. That Texas Tech defense is nasty. They have proven it all year. They can defend, but if you can pop a couple big plays, you're not going to put together 10 and 12 play drives, I don't think, very often against that Tech defense. Can you pop one for 60 or 70 in the passing game? Can you run a punt back potentially? You've got to have some big play offense because Bachmeier in a cloud of dust for 3 and 4 yards, you're not going to win the game that way.
And LJ Martin, the running back, has got to be a key. Since the loss to Texas Tech, he had a couple of monster games at the end of the year.
Yep.
Can they run it? And they got to stay away from the turnovers. They fumbled a punt early on in the game in Lubbock. They also had another turnover later in the first half. They could not really ever get anything going on offense here. Let's see. Jacob Rodriguez, the middle linebacker, the leader. Is he going to be a Heisman finalist? We'll find that out coming up. Again, you and I stayed away from the plus 12.5 here with Texas Tech and then the BYU points for $3.
Is it probably a 75-25 crowd in Jerry World, do you think? Texas Tech?
I'm curious because, again, that place seats around 80,000. I don't know that it's going to be full, but BYU probably brings 25,000.
Wow, really?
From
that
Lubbock,
many?
maybe 20. But from Lubbock, Texas Tech probably brings 50,000. Seriously. I mean, This is a shot at the college football playoff. And here goes another thing that we're going to talk about in the coming weeks. You got to figure out, all right, where are we playing in the playoff? Are they potentially playing a home game? Are they potentially playing in a bowl game? This one is a drive to Dallas. It's about a 6-hour drive from Lubbock to Dallas, depending on how fast you go. You can drive to this game. So I think a lot of the fans in Lubbock will drive to this one because you may not be able to drive to where the next game is. You're talking about airfare, hotel, that kind of stuff.
Because remember, if Texas Tech wins, they're probably getting a bye, which means they don't get a home game in the first round. They're going to be at a neutral site. Remember, the second round of the playoffs are at neutral sites, not at their home. So
correct. So stay tuned. Let's see what the atmosphere is like. That starts the day off, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time. You and I laid off of it for 3 Dog Thursday. All right. Later in the afternoon, among the 4 power conferences, this one stands alone too. We touched on it. We mentioned now Alabama is the underdog with Georgia by 2.5. Point blank to you. Does that surprise you that Bama was not at least pick 'em or favored when they won the regular season matchup?
It's a home game for Georgia, and I know Alabama beat them already in Athens. I get it, and there'll be plenty of Alabama people in the building. I'm a little surprised that it's not closer to even, but the way Georgia's been playing the last several weeks, they are getting not exponentially, but they are getting better and better each week. They're not.
You think?
That's
the
it. I do.
They've played a lot of close games.
They have.
Georgia and Alabama's played a lot of close games, and I guess that's reflected in the 2.5 point line. Keep going.
Yeah, and I think the running back situation in Alabama is a little dicey this week as far as injuries go. Jam Miller, I think the tight end is iffy if he's going to play. And I think you've seen a little bit of decline. And again, the other story is what has happened to Ryan Williams at wide receiver for Alabama? Is it a coaching situation, kind of an imposed, benching? I mean, we don't know. But that guy who was a Heisman kind of guy last year has been invisible this year at wide receiver. And I mean,
remember he had the concussion early in the year, the first game with Florida State. He got hit again in the head later on in the year, I think in the Missouri game. And now you believe this is more they're unhappy with him or they're riding the hot hand. Well, the kid, what was it, Horton last week had the hat trick.
And Bernard, right? And Bernard's really good at receiver. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe it's a personnel deal. I don't know. But, I mean, that's again, this game is a field goal game, I think, either way. I mean, as far as the point spread goes, I don't think the spread will come into play here. I think you either pick the right team or you don't to win the game. I don't think the number is going to come into play. I just have again, more pressure on Alabama. They got to have to win the game to guarantee a spot. Some people think they're in no matter if they lose, but I think if they lose by 17 or 14 or more, there's going to be serious questions about. Remember, they got left out last year. A lot of people thought they should have been in last year. Will the committee leave Alabama out twice in a row if they lose?
Stay tuned. By the way, last 10 meetings for Nick Saban and now Kalen DeBoer against Georgia, 9-1 is Alabama.
Yep.
Kirby Smart's got that hanging around his neck, figuratively. Stay tuned. Saturday afternoon, 4 Eastern time from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That is going to be a tough ticket, a wild atmosphere. Yes. Georgia is in with only the one loss. Yep. Is Alabama out? Should they lose? That's the big debate. And that's also predicated on what else goes on what else happens here. 3 Dog Thursday.
Remember, with the committee, Alabama theoretically is the higher ranked team SEC-wise in this because they are the number 1 seed in the SEC in this game, even though Georgia is ranked higher in the rankings. So does that protect Alabama a little bit with the committee that they're theoretically the SEC regular season champion due to tiebreakers? I don't know.
Well, in a tiebreaker, it might help them, but there's not a tiebreaker if they have 3 losses and Oklahoma has 2 losses. Oklahoma will get in, they won't. And this is where Miami again could slide in. Stay tuned, or a BYU could slide in as well if they get their win. All right, the next one in our chronology is the Big Ten matchup with Indiana and Ohio State, both undefeated. The greatest season in Indiana football history. What an amazing out-of-nowhere year for Curt Cignetti and Indiana. Again, you can question that they didn't really beat anybody out of the conference. They did win at Oregon. They won dramatically over Penn State in the final minute with the great catch in the back of the end zone at Happy Valley. They didn't play Ohio State. They didn't play Michigan to get to the 11-0, or actually 12-0 now to get into the championship game. All right, they are the underdog here in Indianapolis. Buckeyes got the monkey off the back with the win over Michigan. You and I were together on Saturday watching that game, and they didn't play tight. They played well. They got in the red zone and scored touchdowns. Justin Sand looked sharp throwing the ball, even in cold conditions with snow. Again, Ohio State's got weapons. I stayed away here from Indiana. What are your thoughts on the Big Ten title game?
I was impressed by Ohio State, how much they manhandled Michigan in the line of scrimmage, running the ball. It seemed like they ran the ball every play in the second half. I know they didn't, but it seemed like they ran the ball at will at Michigan. No, my only question would be here from the kids' perspective, from the players, from Ohio State. They know they're in. They've won one thing. They know they lost this game. I mean, they lost. This game is not an end-all game for Ohio State.
Right.
Indiana's never won the Big Ten title. And I'll say this, the Ohio State kids on this roster have not won a Big Ten title, so that might keep them amped up. But there's always the human element of we know there's another game if you're Ohio State, even though Indiana's in the tournament
Indiana
too.
knows the same thing. Indiana knows the same thing. They're not going to get left out of the playoff if they lose this.
But it's a different mentality with Indiana. They've never been in this spot in their history of the program. So does that?
Well,
how does that affect?
We can say this: Ohio State smoked their chili last year in the head-to-head matchup. Last year, different players, same coaches. At the end of the regular season, they knocked off Indiana decisively. So I think you can make the argument that Ryan Day's team got on the roll after the Michigan game, playing the first week of the playoff at home and rocked on. You brought this up earlier. If Ohio State wins this game, they're going to play on a neutral field after the bye week. But I don't think they're looking to sabotage it. I think they finish off the perfect Big Ten year, and I think they win, and it wouldn't surprise me if they win by 2 touchdowns in this game. I know Mendoza's had a great season. Ohio State's the best defense they're going to play. Better than Oregon, better than Penn State, better than anybody else they played. Final thought from you, prime time on Saturday night. What are your thoughts here on this Indiana-Ohio State game?
I'm kind of with you. I think Ohio State's defense is the difference. I think Sayin will make enough plays. I think the wide receiving talent with Tate and with Jeremiah Smith is going to be, but again, the running game of Bo Jackson. By the way, there is a Bo Jackson who's the running back at Ohio State. By the way, not that old Bo Jackson, the new Bo Jackson.
Interesting. I thought he's not related to that Bo Jackson, but his dad's name is Lamar. But it's not that Lamar Jackson. He's not old enough. His dad is Lamar Jackson from Ohio, and this is Bo, his son, who is named after the Bo Jackson. So there.
And one thing I'll say, Indianapolis is 1 hour from Bloomington. There will be 40 or 50,000 Hoosier fans in the building.
Well,
you can
if they can get their hands on that many tickets. The Ohio State fans have always been able to stranglehold the tickets. Let's see a lot of red, a lot of Indiana red. What is their red is crimson, right? You're an Indiana grad school guy.
Yes.
How are you not in Indianapolis? How did you not get the hookup to have the IU for this game coming up?
I got the shirt. I'll have the shirt out Saturday.
You'll have the shirt out. All right, Saturday night. Fox has the game 8 Eastern time. The biggest game. This is not hyperbole. This is the biggest game in Indiana football history. Forget about anything else they may have done. I know they played in a Rose Bowl. This is a chance at a perfect season and the college football playoff if they can get this coming up Saturday night.
In a rare regular season 1 versus 2 in the polls. We don't see this very often where number 1 plays number 2. I know there's not as much on the line as there could be, but we don't see this a whole lot in the regular season. So I appreciate that.
All right. And then we get to game number 4, which is the ACC title game, the 4 power conferences that are playing on Saturday. And looky here for the video audience. We'll say it for the podcast audience. Jason Powers says Duke Blue Devils will find a way and give us chaos for Sunday with the college football playoff. You'll take them plus the 3.5. Duke scuffled and beat Wake Forest on the final Saturday and then got all of the tie-breaking metrics to break their way to get into this game. Virginia looked good running the ball, opportunistic against Virginia Tech. Now they meet. You talk about how many fans are going to be there, how many empty seats are going to be there in Charlotte at Bank of America Stadium for Virginia and Duke. Will they fill it up? You would think both programs fill it up. Duke's campus probably about a 2.5, 3 hour drive. Virginia, not bad. What is it? Probably about 4 or 5 hours south of Charlottesville. Correct. You would figure it's going to be full on Saturday night, but stay tuned. Why do you like Duke here, Jason Powers?
One, because the name of this conference is not the ACC. It's called the Atlantic Coast Chaos. We've had chaos in this conference all year long remember, Virginia gets a gift drop ball in the end zone by Florida State back in about week 4, or we're not at this point.
In the overtime.
Deuce Robinson drops the ball in overtime, which would have set up the 2-point play to win the game or whatever it was. So Duke's got some breaks. Virginia's got some breaks. Again, what a story with Tony Elliott after what they went through a couple years with the off-the-field tragedy. That program, a lot of people thought Tony Elliott last year might not get this year to continue to build that program. He's done it. They've got a good team. And again, I think Duke, they played 3 weeks ago. I believe the game was in Durham. Virginia won 34-17.
Correct.
A couple things here. Darian Mensah, I think, is a little bit better of a quarterback than Morris, though Morris is good. Duke turned the ball over a couple times. 2 4th-down stops by Virginia, which were huge in this game, and they held Duke to 4 of 15 on 3rd down. So Mensah's got to have a running game. We cannot make Mensah throw the ball 50 times and expect them to win the game. They got to have some balance with Duke in order to be in this game. Virginia, 225 yards rushing against Duke a couple of weeks back. So they leaned on that running game. Again, I just think this is one of those spots. Manny Diaz is a good defensive coach. I just have a feeling Mensah's going to remember, where was Darian Mensah last year? Tulane. So he was the big free agent NIL signing for Duke to put them back in the mix here. And he's played really well this year, but Mensah can't be the only guy they have. They got to have some balance. I just think chaos. We need to see one more chaotic moment and see how the committee reacts to that. I like Duke in a little revenge here. I think they win the game outright, but if they don't, I think the 3.5 will be enough. I like Duke. How about Manny Diaz shaking Krzyzewski's hand at the Florida basketball
over
game?
by the Cameron Crazies at the basketball game Tuesday night. I'm surprised he wasn't in the black body paint with the Crazies chanting, "Let's go Duke! Let's go Duke!"
By the way, Could he
It is
use Cameron Boozer at tight end? Would
Oh
that
my
guy
God,
not be a pretty good tight end?
pretty wild. The sons of Carlos Boozer and how good they are in basketball. And again, for Duke, an opportunity here to win the ACC championship, but not be in the college football playoff. I mean, we keep repeating this. If they have 5 losses, they're not going to be in the playoff. It's a wild scenario where more than likely Miami would slide into the spot for the ACC. I'm saying that. Stay tuned. Again, it is a rematch. It is one of 3 rematches on Saturday in the Power 4 conferences. Wild that Virginia won that game just a couple of weeks ago, but turned right around and lost to Wake Forest, or they lost to Wake Forest, before that, right? The week before that. And that's their only loss. Again, Virginia, in their case, did not play Miami, did not play SMU. They did beat Louisville early on in the year, and beat Duke. And now they get the rematch with Duke in Charlotte. Final thought here as you take the Blue Devils.
Yeah, I think a little revenge here. I think Manny Diaz, defensive-minded guy, and Virginia's had their lulls on offense. They've had moments where they've played really well on offense, but boy, they've also had some moments where they've labored a little bit. So again, if Duke can contain that rushing game and put the ball in Chandler Morris's hands, I think they got a chance. And if Duke can have a little bit of a running game, they don't have to be tremendous, but they cannot make Mintz have to throw the ball every down. I think Duke will be right there at the end in the fourth quarter.
ABC has it at 8 Eastern time on Saturday. So we gave you thoughts on all those. Jason makes an official pick on Duke as his underdog. So 2 underdogs from us this weekend. All right, let's go over it again one more time. We do have the mayhem scenarios here of the college football playoff. We're saying this for the podcast audience. We're showing you the bracket again on the video show. Once again, we covered it earlier in the show. It is worth talking about and discussing that there are 2 slots currently reserved for the highest ranked conference champions. The American is going to be one of those.
Yes.
All right. The only question becomes, does Duke beat Virginia and therefore nix the ACC champion for the championship game because they're not going to take them? And what about the mayhem again? If Alabama were to lose, that's a 3rd loss for them. Are you keeping them instead of keeping Miami or putting Miami in the playoff? Are you keeping them and not allowing somebody like Notre Dame? I believe they're going to keep Notre Dame in the top 12. But I mean, there's some mayhem scenarios here. Just BYU slide in with a win on the automatic bid because they're not leaving Texas Tech out. Stay tuned.
I'll ask you this, TJ Reeves. Hunter Yurachek left the door open that spots can change, even though they're not playing this week, i.e. Miami and Notre Dame. If it's down to Miami and Notre Dame, 2 spots, 2 teams for 1 spot, does the head-to-head, is that the difference? Or do they think we think Notre Dame's better today?
Oh, no, I think they go with the head-to-head as the cop-out, as the reason why. He said that a couple of weeks ago. When it's down to that conversation, that will be seriously considered on the head-to-head. I mean, look, I know Miami lost to SMU and they lost to Louisville, but if they won head-to-head and they've got the same record, I don't think you can leave them out. So this may not be over yet. I also believe here, especially if BYU loses and then Alabama loses, you're going to have, I don't care what happens in the ACC title game, you're going to have Miami and Notre Dame in the 4, in the 12, if that's the case. You'll get a second ACC team and you'll get Notre Dame as well.
Because if you're TNT and ESPN, you need some brand names. You cannot have a dud of a quarter, a first round of games where you've got teams. We had a lot of blowouts last year in that first round, unwatchable games for the most part in that first weekend. So you need to have big brands. Say what you want. TV and branding and marketing are important in this equation to some degree. Not the top priority, but if it's 2 even teams,
of course
if it's James Madison against Miami or James Madison against Notre Dame, you have to think the brand name, and it probably deserved, because I think if you put them on a field together, both those teams would be 10 to 14 point favorites over James Madison on the field.
Oh, absolutely they would. And Notre Dame has won 10 games in a row, and in most of them it's been devastating, including against the ACC teams.
Yep.
Including the other night against Stanford. I mean, you can talk about level of competition, but they've destroyed 3 or 4 ACC teams down the stretch of the season. So Stay tuned for all of that on Sunday. That is Sunday before we are done. By the way, coaching carousel continuing midweek. What do you make? I'll put this on for Mrs. Reeves of the South Florida hire of Brian Hartline, the Michigan State the Ohio State offensive coordinator, who will continue to coach with Ohio State, Big Ten title game in the college football playoff. But the Bulls get the wide receiver, the former wide receiver. He's responsible for a lot of great wide receivers coming out of that room, like Marvin Harrison Jr., Chris Olave, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Emeka Ibuka. They've all come out of that Ohio State receiving room. What about Hartline to Tampa to the USF Bulls?
I think that's an excellent hire. But if I was Rob Higgins, I'd be updating my my candidate list, because I can tell you this: if he has 1 or 2 good years down here, he will be at a big time Big Ten or SEC kind of job sooner rather than later. So I don't think this is a long-term hire for USF, because Hartline is well respected in the coaching community, a rising star. I don't think it's going to be very long if he does well here. And I also think that shows that Rob Higgins and that USF administration has made some financial commitments, because I don't think Hartline would have taken this job if there were not some NIL commitments alongside this.
And the Bulls, again, play in a huge market, and there's a possibility down the road you could end up being in a power conference if realignment starts again.
New stadium coming.
All right. Interesting here for the Memphis Tigers. Ryan Silverfield leaves for the Arkansas job, which a lot of the Arkansas fans were upset with that. What do the Tigers end up doing? Again, Tulane is open. USF, South Florida is filled. Memphis currently open. What do the Tigers do midweek here on the coaching carousel? Stay tuned. Maybe it is Jerry Mack, the Kennesaw State coach, who's coaching in the Conference USA title game Friday night with Jacksonville State, I think.
Jacksonville State, yes.
And Jacksonville State. Is it going to be Jerry Mack? Is it going to be somebody else from Memphis? Who do they end up with? What's going on at Penn State, please?
My only thought here is, I know we've heard a lot of different names and people have pulled their name out of contention. Maybe they've got a wink deal in place with somebody that's still coaching. Maybe somebody that's coaching this weekend.
They obviously were talking and zeroing in on Sataki, didn't get him. The word had been previously they were trying to lure Josh Heupel from Tennessee. That didn't happen. Jeff Brom suddenly got another new contract, his second one at Louisville, and there was a belief that he might be in the mix. I guess the talk now is the fired New York Giants coach Brian Daboll, who was a former coach also as an assistant at Penn State. But I mean, it's crazy. They on National Signing Day, had 2 official signees, 2, when they could have signed up to 20. It's a debacle that Penn State fired James Franklin in October, and they didn't have their coach this weekend. When everything started happening, they didn't have their coach. Michigan State had their coach this weekend. They fired Jonathan Smith. They hired Pat Fitzgerald. Kentucky had their coach in 24 hours. They hired the Oregon offensive coordinator, Will Stein. Had no problem. Make the move, hire your coach. Some ineptitude in State College for sure.
Maybe they have a somebody that's still coaching, whether it's in the pros or in college, in the bag. Who knows?
By the way, we plug one more thing from my man Jason Powers, video audience seeing this. Go to the Florida Football Insiders podcast. Wherever you get podcasts, you will check that out. With Jason and his guest, you'll have the latest on John Summerall being the Florida coach, USF, South Florida hiring Brian Hartline, Florida State having to keep Mike Norvell, which the Knoll fans are beside themselves with how they finished the season, but they can't buy him out. They don't have the money. So just
ask Steve Spurrier. Just ask Steve Spurrier about the money problems in Tallahassee.
He had he said a couple of things. He said, yep, they're having some problems up there. They don't have any money. Having some problems up there, and they still aren't winning a lot of football games. So, it's been bad for 2 years at Florida State. So you've got a lot on this Florida Football Insiders podcast. Find it wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spreaker, Spotify. It's part of the College Gridiron Coast to Coast podcast feed.
Do you like Alex Golesh to Auburn?
Yes, I think that's an offensive-minded hire, and they kept DJ Durkin, the defensive coordinator. I think he's been in the SEC before. They've been explosive on offense at South Florida the last couple of years. And do you believe, like I do, that he brings Byron Brown, the quarterback, with him on NIL. That's going to be the Auburn quarterback.
Because you got to remember that Auburn has a freshman quarterback, Deuce Knight, who's got a lot of big recruit. They've got Ashton Daniels, who played pretty decent in the game the other night. Or do you bring Byron Brown? Because I don't know if Byron Brown, to be honest with you, fits what Brian Hartline maybe wants to do.
Maybe not. Stay tuned on the carousel and everything else. Couple of other items real quick, and we're going to go in just a second. We love being here on the Winning Cures Everything platform. Thank you again to Gary Seegers. Deion Sanders went out with a whimper, finishing 3-9, finishing 1-8 in the Big 12. Oh, the latest is out, by the way, from Front Office Sports doing the digging. It's public record. The Colorado football program is broke. They're bankrupt because they paid Deion and his staff almost $15 million. They spent another $12 million on NIL and players, including his sons last year. They have no money left off of a 3-9 season. What a debacle. And this is the cautionary tale about pro coaches and all the hype. Bill Belichick at North Carolina, they're financially damaged big time by the roster that he botched and by the coaching salaries that he has along with himself. What a mess. What a mess in those two situations. While we talk about all this, any other final thoughts before we get to Championship Saturday and we resolve the college football playoff? We're not going to resolve the arguing and the screaming. They want that. But we'll know the 12 teams Sunday afternoon in the college football playoff. Any final thoughts, Jason Powers?
What's going to be the wild card scenario that happens this week? There's going to be one. There's going to be at least one of these games that go the wrong way or something.
BYU beats Texas Tech. That knocks somebody out because BYU's not in right now.
Does the committee have the grapefruits to put James Madison and the American champion in, or do they adhere to the public of Miami Notre Dame if things break the way they could break?
Stay tuned on the mayhem scenarios for the college football playoff. Listen, we love doing this. Let's watch everything that's going to happen here and play out with the championship games. By review, again, we're on two different games. I took Tulane Friday night with the American Conference title game at home and the 2.5 with North Texas. The only other underdog play was Jason taking Duke to start the mayhem with a win over Virginia and then not be in the college football playoff, but win the ACC title game. You'll take the 3.5 in Charlotte for Duke and UVA. My friend, let's get together and watch some football at some point on Saturday, you and I, and some of this to sort out. I love having you, my wingman, Jason Powers. Great stuff, as always.
Appreciate it. Your Buccaneers back on the winning trail, the Buccaneers.
Let's get back on it. Let's get the Bucks back going, too, for the playoffs and the NFL on Sundays. Thank you to Gary Seegers as well and the Winning Cures Everything platform. We love his insight and everything he does on Winning Cures as we cohabitate with him.
Are we back next week, or is it 2 weeks?
I think we're going to be back in a couple of weeks here once the college football playoff is set up. Stay tuned. We'll see if we're back next week or maybe in 2 weeks when the games are about to be played. Stay tuned. We may be back next week. We'll know the playoff after Sunday. To be determined. How about that for a deal? Thank you to those that have been watching and been listening. We appreciate your patronage here for Three Dog Thursday. Let's see what happens on Championship Weekend. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Subscribe, leave a review or comment, follow @GaryWCE on X, and check out the web store